Hey, deserving listeners, Love is Blind, their reunion. Let's watch.
Shayna was kind of trying to tell you, Kyle, at the reveal, like, I don't know if we should move on with this. I don't know if I'm ready for this next step, but you kept wanting to try to make it work. Do you feel like, I don't want to say that you pushed her into it, but that you kind of convinced her, hey, let's continue to go on with this process? Or that
What? That's not how I would describe it. How I would describe it is he proposed to someone that they were having ongoing conversations about being in love with each other, or wanting to get married, or being very interested in each other. He proposed, she said yes. Now, non-verbally, she indicated otherwise, but he didn't know that. And then when they met, and then I think for Shayna, I think she even said things along this lines of like, well, I'm on the fence about him in the pods, but we'll see when I meet him. And I think for her, she's like, if I meet him and we have a physical spark, maybe that'll give me enough reason to keep going with this. And I don't know, maybe, who knows? But if there's not a lot of physical spark, there's not a lot of emotional spark there. So, and then when they met, I don't think there was a physical spark. And she continued to say basically that she was on board with the marriage, but she was hesitating. But she never said that she was totally done with it, right? Until later when they met at the park, right? So to frame it like that Kyle was pressuring her and made her agree to marry him, I don't know, that's not how I would describe it.
So in that moment, I was caught off guard when you were unsure after we met, and I walked away and you said, this is going to be tough. And I said, well, have some hope. So
Yeah, I totally understand where he was coming from. From the outside, I wanted to tell Kyle, cut your losses. I don't think she's into you. But from his perspective, he's like, well, we had a connection and she said yes. I proposed, she said yes. And I met her and there's still a spark. So I shouldn't just give up on just because there's a bump in the road. Like when you're in love with someone, you try to make it work. So I think Kyle was, he was and Shayna was understandable too. I think she was like, I don't think this is going to work and I don't know what to do. And, kudos to her. The first day she went home. Now she said, I'm going to go to my apartment. I'm going to get a different bed to sleep in. I think that's what she said, right? Different room to sleep in. And from the looks of it, she just packed up and went home. And she could have popped her head in and said, by the way, Kyle, I'm sorry. This is over. We're not getting married. I'm so sorry. But she eventually did. So, I don't think there was any pressuring or any problem with that situation. Although I think Shayna could have just not said yes during the proposal. And I think she even admitted that she should have done that. But that's not a crime. And I think quickly. And I don't think Kyle was vying for anyone else. So I don't think it denied him the opportunity to be with anyone else. So, I don't think it was a huge harm what happened between the two of them.
I would love to know. I want to know why you had the hesitation from... was it more than religion, or was it strictly religion? Was it Shane? Was it how I looked?
No, I had those reservations before I even met you. It had nothing to do with looks. I think you're a very handsome...
Yeah, okay. So he's asking the questions that I would want to ask if I were curious about the reasons. Was it the way I looked? Was it really religion? Was it Shane? Yeah, those are all viable things. And she's saying, no, I had reservations before I ever met you. I think she means before we met in person.
A Christian before and it didn't work, right? So I'm like, maybe I was having this internal struggle with, do I give this an open mind? Like, just because they're a Christian doesn't mean they're a good person, right? So like, I know I felt that you were a good person, so I was like, do I give it a shot? It was like an internal struggle for me. So at the end of the day, long story short, it was the religion for sure. And
I could see that. I think there's a possibility that she's being nice about this, which I would actually recommend, and that there wasn't a physical spark for her. Who knows? But because given the fact that she accepted the proposal knowing he was an atheist, and then she even says, well, when we meet, maybe it'll be a spark, maybe I'll be inspired. And then that didn't happen. Then she went home. And yeah, I could absolutely see, particularly given her particular, she's not just a Christian. She's a particular narrow minority version of Christian, from what I understand. So even a little bit that she's talked about, but there are indications that there's more specificity to her Christianity. That's a belief system like any other, but not the mainstream, like, Protestant, Methodist, American Christian. Anyway, so, and okay, yeah. Now, as I've been saying, I think out loud in the beginning, meaning I think I've said it on video, is that why would you go on a show that a lot of the people are either going to be not of your religion, or at the very least, they're not the sort of Christian that you need them to be? Like, why did you even do that? Also, why did you even say yes? Why did you even entertain a relationship with Kyle? Now, I have a feeling that she lives in a bubble of that particular kind of Christianity, and she might have had, or she might live in a town where, I don't know, where a lot of people are of that, or at least are Christian, and so she just didn't realize that there are a lot of non-Christians out there, and just hadn't thought that through. I don't know, but she's saying it was the Christianity thing, and that's either, mostly true, with also something that she's leaving out, which is, sometimes it's better to leave that out, right? It's better, even, it'd be nicer to, so let's say that for Shayna, she's like, the religion thing is a definite thing, but also I just felt no spark. He's not my type physically. He's not even really my type emotionally, if we really think about it. And so, but I don't want to tell him that. It's going to hurt his feelings. There'd be no reason for that. The religion thing is a major piece of it. I'll just highlight that because I don't want to give someone a complex. There's a lot of different thoughts about that. Some people will say, yeah, if you're breaking up with me, just say it's the religion. Don't tell me I don't need to hear that stuff. Like, I have enough insecurities. Don't give me a complex. Other people would say, no, I want to know the whole story. I don't want you to lie to me because I feel like I'm being deceived. Just give me the truth. I can take it.
I don't want to use the word religion. It was more of my relationship with God. That's a huge factor in my life, and you would never be able to give me that. Now, I wouldn't want to force you in that.
If you were so certain from the beginning, you should have never have said yes to me.
I should have never said yes to you. I agree with that.
Yeah, and I think for Kyle, he has every reason to say that. He has every reason to repeat that to her. She has every reason to repeat her apology for that. She has apologized for that from the beginning. So yeah, and this is part of breaking up. Sometimes you have repetitive conversations. For those of you who have dumped people, sometimes you're like, yeah, we've been over this ground. I already apologized for that. Why are we, for the people who are being hurt, for the Kyles of the world, it's a frequent thing. It comes in waves, and it has to be revisited over and over again before it doesn't have to be anymore.
Wasted my time.
That it was a people-pleasing moment, and I should have never said yes to you. And I own that, and I'm very sorry that I said yes. I should have never said yes.
Right, so she gave some indications that she is a people pleaser, and that her previous relationship, she was a people pleaser to an abusive individual. We don't know the circumstances, but yeah, and it did look that way to me. It looked like she wanted to say no, or at least she was confused in the moment, and she didn't want to hurt his feelings. And he was bringing up the mom's wedding ring and stuff, and it just felt like, oh my God, I don't want to make him feel bad. Yes. And then, and then the overwhelming emotion she was feeling of just like, what am I doing? I'm stuck between a rock and a hard place. I either assert what I want or I devastate him. And is it my fault? Did I lead him on? All that kind of, I think that all was legitimately wrapped up in Shayna's, and she's talking about that, and she's admitting it. She's not doing that thing like, I take full responsibility. I'm not gonna play the victim. She's not deflecting. She's not defending. she's admitting.
It's just, I mean, it was just a big waste of time. But I have a huge regret. I mean, the biggest regret is I should have asked Deepti to marry me. I mean, like she like that's what I learned the most is I fucked up.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe there was something that he gave up. Well, he didn't give up. Well, right, because Deepti would have probably already been engaged as well. Kyle and Deepti. Can we see that working? Yeah. Although I don't know how Deepti feels about him. But, all right. So now, he had kind of a disgusted face at Shayna, just like, oh, you wasted my time. And Shayna's like, yeah, I don't know what else you want me to say. And I think this is all a great conversation to have. I think it's good for the two of them to have it, to model this kind of conversation. When you break up with someone, you want to continue to have these conversations, even if they are repetitive, because it's fair.
I should have tried harder for you. I mean, I love her so much. She's the best. And I wish I saw what was right in front of me. And I do have, that's my biggest regret. I'm sorry.
Deepti's amazing. I agree.
She is. I love her. She's the best.
Hey, I would love that between you two.
Yeah.
Shake, I don't think anyone cares what you think. I was like, Shake, don't say anything. Shake, don't say. And then he says it, it's sort of borderline what he's meaning here. But in lieu of all the other misogyny that he's exhibiting, it's like, yeah, dude, you got my permission. I passed this possession on to you. I don't know if that's what he's saying. It's not there. He could just be like, look, I'm not going to, totally cool with it. I don't want to stand in your way. I don't think anyone thought you were going to stand in your way. I don't think anyone would care if you tried to stand in the way.
Are you uncomfortable talking about that? It's literally the last thing I was going to say before I moved on to Ayana, so we don't have to talk about it. I'll ask Shayna. Hey, girl.
There's nothing. Yeah, there's nothing that we were.
Okay, so it sounds like Shayna and Shane tried dating after the show, which makes sense if it didn't work out with Natalie. And Shayna was up for it, and Shane would be like, well, let's see. Okay. And they're asking Shane about that, and he's not talking. He's just looking down at his feet. And there's a childishness, that, not to insult him, but an Arrested Development, I think, issue, an immaturity there, a boyish attitude or demeanor. I think he's regressing to that of a child, of just like shame and humiliation and just wanting it to all go away. I think he also, in front of Natalie, I don't know, I'm just speculating that he didn't tell Natalie that he dated Shayna, and I think he might still think that maybe him and Natalie will work out, so he doesn't want it to be talked about that he went out with Shayna. I was just a guess. Or it didn't work with Shayna, and he doesn't feel good about talking about that rejection. I don't know. Let's see.
Always just friends. There was nothing ever romantic afterwards.
I actually I just
I don't know if
y'all
he's
saw
uncomfortable
each
because I don't
other.
want him to think that it's taking away from your and Shane's story. There was nothing
I
like
think
that.
that's probably what it is.
Yeah, there was nothing.
It's just emotional.
Yeah.
I totally get that.
Okay. So Shayna was looking at Shane going, why are you reacting that? You're acting like you're ashamed or there's something to hide. We just met up as friends. There was nothing there. Now, given Shane's behavior and given Shayna's propensity to sometimes deny the truth, according to people on the show, maybe there was at least talk of a potential relationship there, and Shane is just denying it or covering it up or didn't know it was really like that, or I don't know. Who knows?
Been finding and I think this will always be something that we'll have to deal with, because we're so different, but we have such similar values and similar goals. So, I mean, it's just been a compromise ultimately. Yeah. So I have been going out more and he has been staying in more. So we're just constant.
All right, that's a good sign. Extroverts and introverts do often complement each other in that way. The introvert will like the extrovert because the extrovert will kind of drag them out a little bit more. And the extroverts will like the introverts because the introverts will drag them in a little bit more. And they seem to be on the right track. They're adjusting to each other. They recognize, Ayanna recognizes, look, this isn't going to change. This is something inherent about it too. It's not framed as he's a party animal and a terrible person. He's an extrovert. He really likes to see a lot of people. I don't. And so they're framing it in a way that sounds like they haven't built resentments, that they're trying to look at it through positive lens. So that brings me a lot of hope, gives me a lot of hope.
We know it's not easy. We really do appreciate you guys being so candid and being so vulnerable and honest. It means a lot.
Anything
Can I
anybody want to say?
I think even though I didn't find my husband through this experience, I feel like I've met so many amazing people that I can call like some of my best friends. And for that, I'm very thankful.
Yeah, that's an aspect of it you don't think about, right? Because they really highlight the romantic love and marriage aspect. But it's essentially like a camp that you go to for 10 days in the pods. And then this vacation that you go to Mexico for, I don't know how many days. And you get to hang out with all these people and really bond. Yeah. I mean, that'd be cool. I mean, that would make the whole thing worth it just there, right? Even if you didn't meet someone, you'd be like, really bonding and meeting some really great people. Yeah, that's interesting. All right. Well, that does it for that episode. Everyone out there, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.